Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take the fire hose of information and distill it down to the essential, fascinating, and often surprising truths you need to know. Today, we are strapping into a machine that is, well, it's part supercar, part technological manifesto, and maybe even part theatrical stunt. We are talking about the Yangwang U9.
And what's so fascinating here is that this isn't just another fast car. It's really a symbolic flex from BYD, which is, one of the world's largest automotive manufacturers.
A huge player.
Exactly. They're basically signaling to the world, and I think specifically to the established European and American luxury houses, that China's auto industry is not only ready, but it's fully capable of playing in that ultra-luxury, ultra-performance sandbox.
Right, a space that's been traditionally reserved for a very, very exclusive club with a lot of history.
Decades, sometimes centuries of legacy.
Exactly. So this is their performance centerpiece. Our mission today is to really unpack this thing, this ultra-luxury electric hypercar. We need to analyze its, frankly, outrageous performance claims. We've got to scrutinize its head-turning, headline-grabbing tech. And yes, we are going deep on the physics and the engineering behind that jumping suspension.
Oh, we have to.
And then I think we have to determine if the U9 is a genuine disruptive breakthrough or if it's more of a strategic high-cost showcase, something designed for prestige and, going viral.
It's important for you listening to really get the context here.
Yeah.
So Yangwang is the brand. It's the ultra-luxury premium offshoot that BYD launched in 2023.
Okay.
And the U9 is their all-electric hypercar, the centerpiece. It's built on BYD's foundational E platform. Now, that same platform is also under their huge, rugged U8 SUV, but the U9 is. It's just tuned for pure extreme speed and visual spectacle. It's the apex of their ambition.
And the raw specs are they're genuinely stunning. This is what got everyone's attention in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about numbers that instantly put it in the hypercar elite. The U9 has a confirmed 12,288 horsepower.
Which is 960 kilowatts. Just a massive number.
And the claimed 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time is a blistering 2.36 seconds. I mean, that is right on the edge of what's physically possible.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, these specs, they're very deliberately chosen. They're designed specifically to position the U9 as a direct competitor to the benchmarks, like the Rimac Nevera and any other electric megacars out there.
So it's not entering the club politely.
Not at all. It's kicking the door in and demanding attention on the world stage from day one.
So that's where we're going to start our deep dive. We're here to sort the reality from the hype, verify the claims, and figure out if the U9 is actually shifting the definition of a hypercar or if it's just, expertly engineered to get everyone talking.
Which in the luxury world can sometimes be just as valuable.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. This membership in the elite club, when we're talking about 12,288 horsepower and 2.36 seconds to 100, what kind of company is the U9 actually keeping? Because these figures suggest a very small, very exclusive group.
It's an incredibly small group. And it raises that question, what does it even take to join the 1,200 plus horsepower club? The U9's official figures, that power number and that sub 2.4 second sprint, they put it firmly among the world's most powerful production cars. Doesn't matter if it's electric or combustion.
It's just an incredible feat of engineering.
It is. It's an undeniable achievement. It really demonstrates BYD's ability to build these incredibly potent drivetrains.
So give us some of those data points to put it in perspective, because most of us are used to high-performance cars, maybe topping out at 700, 800 horsepower. This is a whole other world.
It's a different dimension entirely. So when we look at the rivals with similar or even better specs, the U9 is fighting absolute giants. I mean, the pinnacle of global engineering.
Like who?
The main EV benchmark is still the Rimac Nevera, built in Croatia. That thing has a staggering 1,914 horsepower and an almost physics-defying 1.85 seconds to 100 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
Then you have these extreme, super low-volume players like the Japanese Aspark Owl, which is pushing close to 2,000 horsepower.
I've barely even heard of that one.
It's very niche. And then Pininfarina's Battista, which shares a lot of the Rimac tech, is right there with it. 1,900 horsepower, 1.86 seconds. So the U9 is definitely in the conversation, but it's not the fastest. It's chasing.
And it's not just chasing other EVs, right? For prestige, it has to stand up to the best of the combustion world, too.
Absolutely. The hypercar world defines its hierarchy across all power sources. You have to consider the combustion king, the Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300 Plus H. That delivers 1,578 horsepower and hits 100 in about 2.3 seconds.
So right there with the U9's claim.
Almost identical. And then you have hybrid megacars like the Koenigsegg Gemera, with versions that are getting close to 2,300 horsepower. So even though the tech is different, combustion versus instant EV torque, the performance output puts them all in the same category of extreme capability.
So the technical requirements to actually achieve that kind of sub 2.4-second launch must be just incredibly demanding. It's not just a case of bolting 4 huge electric motors to a chassis, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. Raw power is completely useless if you can't control it and get it to the ground. This kind of brutal acceleration comes from that immediate, instant torque that only a high-powered EV can do, but you have to manage it perfectly.
And how do they do that?
Well, you need a few very specific ingredients. First, all-wheel drive is a must. The U9 has that with its quad motor setup. Second, you need advanced torque vectoring.
Okay, let's pause on torque vectoring. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean for a car like this? Can you give us an analogy?
Sure. Think of it like this.
Yeah.
In a normal all-wheel drive car, you floor it, and the power splits, maybe 50-50 front and back. Simple.
Right.
In a quad motor setup with advanced torque vectoring, the car's brain is like a conductor leading a 4-piece orchestra. Each wheel is an instrument. The conductor, the central control unit, can instantly decide to, say, mute the instrument that's losing grip and boost the one that has perfect traction.
And this is happening how fast?
Hundreds of times a second. It means that every single fraction of a horsepower is going directly into moving the car forward. There's no waste. The U9's 2.36-second sprint is proof that its system is highly, highly effective.
And then finally, that power has to meet the road. Which brings us to tires. You can have all the power in the world, but if your rubber can't handle it, you just get a lot of expensive smoke.
Precisely. The tires for these cars need to handle forces that would just shred a standard radial tire. They're basically made of super soft, sticky compounds that can handle immense heat and centrifugal force. So it's that combination, perfect all-wheel drive, dynamic torque vectoring, and cutting-edge tires that lets so few cars, and now the U9, claim this level of performance.
Okay, so this is where the conversation has to get a bit more critical because we need to talk about verification. The U9 made a huge splash with its announced Nürburgring lap time for the U9 Xtreme variant. What was that claim, and why is there so much skepticism around it?
The announced time was a sensational 6 minutes, 59.157 seconds.
That's huge.
It's massive. To put that in context, it puts the U9 Xtreme in the same league as track legends like the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. It would make it the first Chinese EV to officially break that 7-minute barrier on the Nordschleife-Ring, the ultimate global performance metric.
So it's a critical claim for building that global prestige. But if it's that fast, why are performance purists sort of pushing back on it?
Well, there's a critical piece of context here, and it goes right back to the value of proven innovation. That announced time, it currently lacks any independent third-party verification. There's no official homologation.
And in the hypercar world, that's a big deal.
It's everything, especially with the Nürburgring. A lap time is just a claim until it's verified. That means a recognized body, like TÜV or reputable international media, has to validate it. With an independent driver in a real production car on production tires.
And without that third-party video or that official oversight.
Without that external proof, the claim remains speculative. It undermines the car's credibility among the elite. You can't just release a slick, highly edited press video and expect the world to just accept it. Not when you're challenging giants like Porsche and Bugatti who have spent decades earning their motorsport pedigree.
So verification is the gateway to credibility.
Exactly. And until the U9 passes through it, the time is a powerful marketing statement, but it's not a confirmed performance fact.
That distinction is key. Marketing versus fact. Okay, before we dive into the core tech, let's just quickly touch on the design. I mean, the car certainly looks the part of a multi-million-dollar exotic. Who is behind the design?
The design was overseen by Wolfgang Egger, who has a very serious pedigree. He was the former chief designer for Audi and Lamborghini.
So he knows European supercars?
He knows them intimately. And the goal here was clearly to blend those aggressive, classic European supercar lines, the sharp angles, the low stance, dramatic spoilers, with a touch of what they call Chinese futurism. It's got the butterfly doors, a very aggressive aerodynamic design. It's all meant to ensure it looks every bit as expensive and capable as its rivals.
A very conscious decision, then.
Absolutely. It was about giving the car an immediate, recognizable global look, rather than something exclusively domestic.
All right, let's get into the engineering behind all this spectacle. We mentioned the quad motor setup, which is built on BYD's ESO platform. Let's start there. Walk us through that fundamental tech again, but let's focus on its versatility.
So the E-platform, as we said, is that system with 4 permanent magnet motors, one for each wheel, which enables that really precise torque vectoring. That's the foundation for everything the U9 can do. But the real engineering flex here isn't just that it has a quad motor setup. It's that this single platform can underpin 2 wildly different vehicles.
The U9 Hypercar and the Yangwang U9 SUV.
Exactly. And that is a critical point. Designing a single architecture that can handle both ends of that spectrum, a low-slung track car and a high-riding off-roader, is a massive structural and engineering challenge.
It seems almost impossible. The requirements are polar opposites.
They are. It really showcases BYD's mastery of structure. A hypercar like the U9 needs maximum chassis rigidity, basically zero flex, and a super low center of gravity. Everything is tuned for stability at over 300 kilometers per hour.
And the U8?
The U8 needs a huge ride height, massive suspension travel for off-roading, robust sealing so it can literally drive in water, and the ability to soak up huge bumps without damaging the core structure. So designing one electric architecture that can be both hyper-rigid and hyper-flexible, that's genuinely groundbreaking platform engineering. It says a lot about their control over battery packaging and structural dynamics.
So the versatility is the real differentiator here, even if quad motors themselves aren't new.
Precisely. I mean, Rimac focuses only on hypercars. Rivian focuses on SUVs and trucks. BYD's ability to leverage this one platform for both is a huge demonstration of their vertical integration and their scalable architecture.
Okay, that brings us to the most visually spectacular piece of tech, and the one that's gotten all the headlines, the DiSusX Intelligent Suspension System. What exactly is this? How is it different from the adaptive suspension we see from, say, Porsche or McLaren?
DiSusX is BYD's fully active suspension system, and it's a truly complex piece of kit. It's not a standard air suspension, which uses pressurized air to adjust height, relatively slowly, and it's not a traditional hydraulic system either. Instead, DiSusX uses these high-speed electromagnetic or electrohydraulic actuators at each wheel.
You described them before as tiny robotic muscles.
That's a great way to think of it. And they are incredibly rapid. They allow for super fast extension and compression of the suspension. These actuators can adjust the ride height, manage body rolling corners, control pitch under braking, all of it almost instantaneously. We're talking milliseconds.
Which is essential for controlling a 12,288 horsepower car.
It is. It ensures the tires stay in constant contact with the road, no matter what's happening.
And this rapid control is what allows for the choreography we've all seen, the dance and the jump.
Yes, that choreography is the defining feature. It's the ultimate proof of concept for the speed of those actuators. BYD claims this is the first production car that can literally jump and dance on command.
And what does that actually involve?
It involves programmable vertical lift, rhythmic bouncing, and these dramatic stabilization moves. The entire system has to work in perfect millisecond-level sync to avoid, well, tearing itself apart.
So how does that synchronization actually happen? Because it sounds like a logistical nightmare if you were relying on different suppliers for the motors, the software, the suspension.
And that is the absolute core reason DiSusX exists. It links directly to BYD's entire strategy. Vertical integration.
They control the whole stack.
The entire control stack. They design and manufacture the battery, the motor controllers, the operating software, and the actual suspension actuators themselves. This proprietary, integrated approach eliminates the communication latency, that time delay that you'd inevitably get if you were sourcing parts from, say, Bosch or ZF.
So if they used a supplier for the suspension, that supplier's system would have to talk to BYD's motor controller, which talks to the central computer, and all those little handshakes create a delay.
Exactly. Even a few milliseconds of lag between different supplier protocols would make that ultra-synchronized dance or that coordinated vertical lift totally impossible. Because BYD owns every layer, the actuator gets its command from the central brain almost instantly, and that allows for the precision needed to pull off these theatrical moves without fail. The dance is just the theatrical output of some very foundational low-latency engineering.
Okay, this is where we have to get critical and separate the engineering capability from the marketing function. The jumping suspension is sensational to watch, but is it a genuine technical breakthrough that improves performance? Or is it just a very complex, very expensive gimmick?
And this is where it gets really interesting. Objectively, the jump itself is technically impressive. I mean, purely because of the phenomenal speed and control of those actuators. The ability to lift the car while it's standing still or adjust its height so dramatically on the move. That shows an undisputed mastery over chassis control. It's way beyond standard active suspension.
That?
But if we're evaluating it based on its function for a hypercar,
Yeah.
the answer's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It's functionally pointless for cutting down Nürburgring lap times or enhancing high-speed safety or even improving the daily drive.
So it's a technological showcase. It's answering the question, can we do this, rather than should we do this?
Exactly. The jump is a pure symbolic gimmick, but it's a gimmick built on incredibly advanced technology. It's designed to be visually arresting, to go viral. And it works. It's BYD basically saying, look, we have the most sophisticated suspension control system in the world, and here is the most ridiculous visual proof of that mastery.
So it's theater.
It's showcasing their vertical integration and their control stack through pure theater. Yes.
Let's shift to another serious tech claim, this one in manufacturing. The use of 3D printed structural components in the U9 Xtreme. What are they claiming, and what does this really tell us about BYD's maturity as a manufacturer?
So the U9 Xtreme claims to use laser-melted 3D printed aluminum alloy for certain body panels and structural subframes. This process, additive manufacturing, is incredibly advanced.
And the benefits are what? Weight and rigidity.
Exactly. You reduce weight significantly while increasing rigidity and structural integrity, and you get sub-millimeter precision in these complex, aerodynamically optimized shapes that would be impossible to cast or machine in the traditional way.
Sounds like something out of aerospace. But again, like the quad motors, is this a world first, or is it BYD just showing they have the capability?
That's the crucial nuance, and you're right, it's the latter. It is absolutely not a world first. We see similar tech in its competitors. Ferrari has used it in concepts. Koenigsegg uses 3D printed titanium parts all over the Jesko and Gemera. Bugatti was using 3D printed titanium brake calipers years ago.
Okay, so what's the U9's distinction then? Why is this a talking point?
The distinction for the U9 is what you could call the scaling experiment. Previous uses of this tech for structural parts have been in these ultra-low-volume, bespoke cars. I mean, Koenigsegg might make a dozen cars a year. If BYD can successfully and reliably integrate 3D printing into their process for a platform they call mass-produced, even if that just means a few hundred units, that signals a whole new level of manufacturing maturity.
So it proves they have the industrial capacity to play in this very demanding sandbox. You've mentioned the integrated control stack a few times as the U9's real backbone. But you also said that having a centralized architecture is now, table stakes in high-end EVs from Tesla, Rimac, Porsche. So why are we giving BYD so much credit for it if others are doing it too?
That's a great question, and it gets to the difference between a competitive strategy and a technical achievement. And you're right, an integrated stack is now standard. Tesla did it. Rimac has its own system. Porsche tightly syncs everything. They're all highly integrated.
So what's BYD's unique edge here that justifies all the DiSusX theatrics?
Their unique position isn't just having the stack. It's that they own every single layer of hardware and software within that stack. Think about the whole ecosystem. BYD designs and makes its own blade battery, its own motors, its own inverters, its own suspension actuators, and all the software that links them. Most rivals rely on top-tier suppliers for key parts. Brembo for brakes, or specialists for dampers or power electronics.
And what are the implications of that? Why go to all that trouble instead of just buying the best-in-class parts off the shelf?
The strategic implications are enormous, and they go way beyond just the technical sync needed for the dance. First, supply chain resilience. BYD is less vulnerable to global parts shortages because they control the whole process. Second, you get profound cost control and speed of iteration.
How so?
If they want to update the actuator software or tweak inverter performance, they don't need to coordinate contracts and testing and delivery schedules with 5 different global suppliers. They can iterate in-house, which dramatically increases their speed to market and, long-term, reduces their unit cost.
That makes perfect sense. The ability to design a new part in the morning and have the software team testing it by the afternoon is a huge advantage.
It is. This total control enables that millisecond level synchronization we talked about. It's what allows them to pull off extreme features like the dance in the U9 and that verified aquatic driving in its sibling, the U8. The engineering is built on a foundational business decision to be entirely self-sufficient.
Okay, let's pivot from the hardware to the philosophy of the hypercar market. This world operates on what we can call the hypercar paradox, right? Value is derived from ultra-limited runs, intense scarcity, and mystique. Does the Yangwang U9 embrace that, or is BYD, a volume manufacturer, trying to apply a mass-market mindset here?
If we look at hypercar history, scarcity is absolutely intrinsic to value. When Ferrari built the Halo car, they intentionally cap production at a few hundred units. Bugatti thrives on these highly curated, often custom, ultra-limited runs.
Right.
And this is where BYD's internal language can be a bit misleading to an external audience. Their use of the term mass production likely refers to their massive capacity to scale if they wanted to. It's leveraging their manufacturing prowess, not their actual intended volume for the U9.
So they're saying, we could build 10,000 of these if we wanted to, even if they only ever plan to build 100.
Exactly. It's a statement of industrial might. They want the world to know they aren't some fragile boutique shop. They're a manufacturing giant choosing to build a rare car. But the reality check, when you look at sales figures, tells a very different story.
So let's look at the hard data. What confirmed numbers do we have on actual sales?
Based on the available data from the Chinese domestic market, the U9 is firmly in boutique territory. From its launch in August 2024 through January 2025, only 114 units were reportedly sold.
114.
And to put that in perspective, in 1 month, October 2024, they only delivered 17 units in China.
So that pace, maybe 17 to 25 units a month, puts the annual rate at well under 300 cars a year. That's not mass production, that's boutique.
It is. This low volume means that, whether by accident or by design, scarcity will be preserved. But this also forces us to address the major skepticism around these sales figures.
What do you mean?
Well, BYD is a huge subsidized corporation, and historically their sales reporting has been a bit opaque, especially around past government subsidy programs.
Can you explain that opacity for us? Why would their history lead to skepticism about these 114 U9 sales?
Sure. In the past, during periods of high subsidies in China, there were accusations that some manufacturers would report sales to internal companies or affiliated show operations just to qualify for government incentives based on volume.
So the cars weren't necessarily going to real customers right away.
Right. And given the very high price of the U9 over $230,000 U.S. equivalent and its role as a prestige symbol, it becomes very difficult for global critics to verify if those 114 reported units are all genuine arm's-length customer deliveries, or if some are, say, internal allocations designed to inflate early numbers and generate some good press.
That provides some really critical context. So if we accept that the real sales volume is tiny and a bit murky, what does this all mean for the U9's strategic purpose?
It raises that question. If it's not a big seller and not a massive profit center, why build it? And the answer is that the U9 is unequivocally a halo car. Its primary purpose isn't profit, it's strategic. It's built to showcase engineering capability, to elevate the Yangwang brand prestige, and to signal China's powerful, capable entry into the hypercar elite. It's a very expensive, very advanced tool designed solely for building global credibility and generating positive feelings for the entire BYD empire.
So they're using this technical spectacle to generate cultural currency that then benefits their mass market cars, like the Seal and the Dolphin.
Yeah, exactly. Prestige is the currency, and the U9 is the instrument of that transaction. The goal is to make every BYD product, right down to the cheapest hatchback, look a little more technologically sophisticated by association.
So moving into brand identity, this is maybe the central philosophical critique leveled at the Yangwang U9, especially in the global arena. Despite the incredible engineering, many argue it lacks a clear narrative. It doesn't have that story of craftsmanship or artisanal legacy or motorsport DNA, the things that define a Pagani or a Bugatti.
That is the absolute crux of the prestige problem, this lack of gravitas. The hypercar world doesn't just sell technology. It sells history, craft, and a story. And unlike its rivals, the U9 feels engineered for effect, not for legacy.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about the competitors. Bugatti is famous for its hand-finished interiors, its deep French and Italian lineage that goes back over a century, its record-breaking pedigree. Koenigsegg built its reputation on these bespoke, in-house carbon monocoques and a philosophy of extreme, lightweight mechanical purity.
And what does the U9 offer in contrast to that kind of artisanal, philosophical approach?
The U9 offers synthesis and capability. It's a perfect package of impressive features built on that incredible vertical integration we talked about. But critics argue it lacks a unifying philosophical thread. It feels more like an accumulation of specs and spectacular abilities rather than a singular statement. It's a demonstration that BYD can do it, not necessarily why they do it, in the way a Gordon Murray T50 embodies a philosophy of lightweight driving joy.
The brand, Yangwang, seems to lean so heavily on these sensational features. We've seen the U8 do tank turns and crab walking, now the U9 is dancing. Are these visual stunts placing a coherent, enduring brand philosophy?
I think they're absolutely serving as the primary brand identifier right now. These features are visually arresting, and they're expertly designed for virality. They create an immediate high impact.
And they translate across all languages.
Exactly. Look, this car can jump, this car can float. But these features, while they're technically brilliant, they don't really constitute a brand philosophy that's going to sustain a century of prestige. The U9's entire identity right now is built around technology theatrics, which is powerful for short-term visibility, but rarely builds long-term gravitas.
Let's go back to the designer, Wolfgang Egger. How does his attempt to blend European style with Chinese futurism play into this identity struggle?
Well, Egger's involvement was a very strategic attempt to buy instant credibility by adopting a globally recognizable supercar language. The sharp lines, the low stance, the butterfly doors, it's all designed to just shout hypercar. But the hypercar elite, they thrive on unique, often unconventional aesthetics that reflect their internal engineering philosophy. You look at a Pagani, you see unique craftsmanship. You look at a Koenigsegg, you see extreme optimization. The U9, while it's beautiful and aggressive, is arguably more derivative of existing European forms. It's competently designed, but maybe not yet philosophically distinct enough to carve out its own niche in a market that demands originality.
And yet, the hype machine just keeps going. Despite all this scrutiny and the lack of verified records, why does this car continue to dominate global headlines, especially in the West?
What's fascinating here is that the hype serves multiple strategic purposes, and they often go beyond the actual quality of the car itself. First, domestically, it functions as incredibly powerful symbolic nationalism.
A point of pride.
A huge point of pride. The U9 is a visible, tangible symbol of China's technological ascendancy. It proves they can match, and in some areas, technically surpass, Western luxury and performance.
And what about globally? Why the sustained interest there?
Globally, the car exists in a highly controlled media bubble. As we discussed, there's a real lack of third-party, unrehearsed, critical reviews outside of China. This controlled environment helps protect the narrative, and Western media covers it precisely because it's so novel and unexpected. It serves as a strategic distraction, a shiny object that pulls global attention away from BYD's real, ongoing strategic goal,
Which is
dominating the mass-market EV space with high-volume, affordable models. It's a very clever use of a halo product.
That makes it a fascinating case study in strategic branding and managing global perception. So finally, what about its international ambitions? Is this car just for China, or does BYD genuinely intend to compete globally with Yangwang?
No, they have confirmed clear, actionable plans to launch the Yangwang brand, including the U9, in Europe. This is a definitive signal of their intent to compete globally in that ultra-luxury space. Australia is also being considered. This move into Europe, the birthplace of the hypercar, shows they're serious about challenging the established order, even if they have to start from scratch, without the benefit of a 100-year history.
What about North America?
North America, Japan, and Korea remain more speculative for now. But that European move is the clearest indicator of their global aspiration.
So let's try and synthesize the Yangwang U9. What have we really learned from this deep dive? It is, without a doubt, an engineering marvel, a technical showcase built on BYD's total vertical integration.
Right. It has a verified 12,288 horsepower. It features this unprecedented suspension choreography with the DiSusX system, and that's all enabled because they own every single layer of its complex electronics.
That's the undisputed technical truth.
That's one side of the ledger. The other side is that it remains fundamentally a theatrical gesture. It lacks the independently verified performance metrics, the established scarcity framework, and that deep legacy-building craftsmanship you need to sit comfortably alongside the true greats like Bugatti, Pagani, or Koenigsegg.
So, technologically competent, incredibly powerful, but strategically unproven on the global stage.
That's a perfect summary.
So what does this entire deep dive teach us, the learner, about the hypercar market itself?
I think it teaches us that at the absolute pinnacle of automotive engineering, performance is only half the battle. Innovation is often less important than proven innovation, validated scarcity, and a compelling narrative. Building a hypercar isn't just about collecting horsepower and developing complex systems. It's about curating prestige and history.
And BYD has the horsepower and the tech, but not the gravitas.
Not yet. They have yet to create the gravitas, the lineage, or the verifiable evidence that turns a multi-million-dollar machine into a legend.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. For Yangwang to fully bridge that gap between gesture and legacy, it has to embrace independent validation and motorsport lineage. So we are left asking, what specific, measurable, independently verified achievement beyond a CGI-assisted Nürburgring time or a choreographed dancing suspension would it take for the Yangwang U9 to earn true, unquestionable global credibility?
Right. Will the U9 participate in an independently sanctioned endurance event? Will a major, globally recognized racing driver set a transparently validated, record-breaking time on neutral ground? Or will the U9 just remain a powerful domestic symbol sort of permanently orbiting the verified hypercar elite? The answer really rests on whether BYD chooses to open up its engineering marvel to the cold, hard, independent scrutiny of the world's proving grounds, or if the symbolic flex is deemed sufficient.